My boss had a new boyfriend called Eugene Larson. The first day he came to the office, he put on a great show of exerting his dominance. He deleted my number from my boss's phone right in front of me. Eugene waved his phone in front of me while playing innocently. You can talk to me about anything you need to communicate to Tina, Mr. Sanders. I'll help you pass the message to her. I don't have much sense of security, so please don't mind this. It's to avoid any misunderstanding between us. I was hoping my boss, Tina Caden, would be able to say something fair on my behalf, but all she did was stare at Eugene approvingly and adoringly throughout the conversation. She turned to me and said, "This is a pretty good plan, Mr. Sanders. Do take good care of Eugene from now on." As there was no way for me to reject her, I was forced to add Eugene's contact to my phone. However, the moment he had my number, he flooded my phone with messages. "Mr. Sanders, is the client you're meeting tomorrow with the surname Charleston a man or a woman? Where are you having the meeting tomorrow? Wear something casual tomorrow. It would be best if you avoid washing your face and hair. Otherwise, I would think you're trying to seduce my wife. I believe your relationship with Tina is innocent. You're not allowed to betray me because I'm treating you like my buddy. By the way, you have an extra duty from now on. You need to remind Tina every 30 minutes to send me a message telling me that she loves me." As I read these ridiculous messages, I laughed in anger. I put my phone on silent mode and flung it to the side before going to bed. The next morning, I woke up to dozens of missed calls on my phone. My heart skipped a beat as I quickly returned the call. I thought there was an emergency. When my call got through, Eugene Larson's shrill voice exploded into my ear. "Andrew Sanders, what were you doing last night? Why didn't you pick up my call? Were you doing something sneaky? Where did you sleep last night? Turn on your location. I'm checking where you are right now. I'm warning you. If I find out you tried to seduce Tina behind my back, I'll tear you apart." It rendered me speechless to listen to his hysterical accusations. I was the general manager of the company, not his or Tina Caden's personal secretary. I tried my best to hold in my temper as I replied coldly, "Mr. Larson, I'm not obligated to report my personal schedule and life to you. You can go to Miss Caden for any inquiries you may have. Whatever I do after work is considered my personal time. It's my freedom to be where I want. You have no right to interfere." Eugene scoffed. He said threateningly, "You must be guilty of something if you refuse to tell me where you are. I'll tell my wife to fire you." "Mr. Larson," I could not help retorting, "you keep referring to Miss Caden as your wife. May I know if both of you are officially married? I'm willing to accept punishment if I did anything wrong at work, but if you're using the excuse of my feeling guilty to fire me, please forgive me when I say that it would be unacceptable." However, Eugene refused to listen to what I had to say. He continued stubbornly, "Tell me right now, what were you doing when you refused to pick up my call?" I was not in the mood to argue with him, so I replied impatiently, "It was nighttime, of course I was sleeping. What else would I be doing? Sleeping." His tone suddenly turned indignant. He sounded like he finally had something on me. "Were you sleeping alone? Where do you live? You didn't secretly move near where Tina stays, did you? I don't care what you say, just send me your location right now, or I swear I won't let you off." There was nothing I could do to stop his harassment, so I sent him my location after hanging up. He stopped making a fuss right after that. Eugene sent me another message in less than 2 minutes. This time his tone softened with me. "I'm so sorry, bro. I was being too sensitive. Tina is such an extraordinary woman, and I'm always fearful that someone would snatch her away from me. Don't be mad at me, all right? Take more photographs of Tina for me later when you have your meeting." I rolled my eyes at how fast the way he changed his tone in his messages. I held back my frustration and quickly cleaned up to rush to the office. Eugene was a university student who Tina had hooked up with. Since Eugene found out she was the boss of her own company, he came running to the office to announce his ownership of her. However, this young man must either be dim-witted or read too many romance novels. He treated every male employee in the company like his love rival. As Tina's university classmate and the general manager who built the company with her, I naturally became enemy number one in his eyes. He guarded me as if I were the greatest threat, and had no idea that my full focus was on making money. I had no interest in starting a romance with anyone. It was 9:30 a.m. Tina and I appeared on time in the meeting room at Kent Charleston's office to go through the details of our meeting notes. We still had 30 minutes until our 10 a.m. appointment when my phone on the table kept ringing. The message notification sounded particularly sharp in the quiet meeting room. Tina glanced at my phone and frowned while berating me like the boss she was. "You need to keep your phone silent during working hours. Do you need me to point that out to you?" I picked up my phone to look. As I had expected, they were all messages from Eugene. "Are you in the meeting room now, bro? Have you met Mr. Charleston? Take a picture for me. I need a full body picture of you too. I have to check if you're dressed appropriately today. You're with Tina, aren't you? Why isn't she replying to my messages? Remind her to check her phone right now." I could feel the veins in my temple throbbing. I took a deep breath and turned to Tina to remind her politely, "Miss Caden, your boyfriend is trying to reach you." When she heard the word boyfriend, she picked up her phone right away and turned to leave right after glancing at the messages. I was taken aback as she left me alone in the meeting room. Kent was about to arrive at the meeting, and she chose this moment to reply to her messages. 2 minutes after Tina left, Kent and his secretary pushed the door open. He frowned when he saw the empty seat next to mine. "Where's Miss Caden?" Kent was a traditional man of 50+ and a renowned figure in the industry who was experienced. He emphasized efficiency and was a stickler for the rules. He was extremely unhappy about what he saw. I quickly smiled to smooth the situation and made up an excuse. After that, I took the lead in the conversation and started to talk about how we can work together on the project. After 30 minutes of negotiation, Kent nodded continuously, and things seemed to be moving well. That was when Tina pushed the door open to enter the room. She did not look anxious at all as she slowly took the seat next to mine and asked about the meeting progress. When she found out that the meeting was a success, she was clearly relieved. After that, she brought up details of the contract with Kent, and I took the opportunity to get some water from the pantry. When I got to the pantry, I took out my phone to see over 100 of messages on it. There were dozens of missed calls, and it did not take me much to figure out they were from Eugene. Before I could take a look at them, a call came in. I hung up, and he continued calling. I hung up again, and he still called. After this repeated several times, I knew I could not avoid the messages any longer, and could only pick up the call. The moment the call got through, Eugene roared at me. "Andrew Sanders, how can you ignore my calls again? Are you guilty about something?" I could hardly contain my anger. "I told you before that I was in a meeting, Mr. Larson. This is a contract that involves millions of dollars. Can you handle the consequences if anything happens to this contract?" Chapter 3. All Eugene did was scoff and reply indignantly, "Can you handle the consequences if I fought with Tina and it affected her work?" This reply rendered me speechless. I had no idea what he was thinking. The way his brain worked was a complete mystery to me. Before I could say another word, Eugene continued being pushy. "Turn on your camera right now. I want to see where you are and who is with you. Get a 360-degree angle of your surroundings clearly." Frustration filled me to the brim. I clenched my phone and tried to be as patient as possible. "I'm in a meeting, Mr. Larson. Can you stop making a scene? Please contact Miss Caden if you need anything. I'm just a manager, not a messenger between lovers. Turn on your camera. Turn it on, and I'll believe you. Otherwise, whatever you tell me is a lie." I had nothing to hide, so I turned on my camera and aimed it at the door of the meeting room I had just walked out of. "See that? I told you I was in a me. Arga. Andrew Sanders, you be asterisk starred. Are you trying to have an office affair with Tina? Don't even think about seducing her as long as I'm around." The last of my patience had been exhausted, and I hung up right away. I even deleted him from my contacts and all social media. After this series of actions, I looked at my phone's clean homepage. Even the air suddenly felt fresher than usual. Back inside the meeting room, Tina and Kent were chatting happily. It looked like they were about to move into the next phase of signing the contract. Kent took the contract and said to Tina with a smile, "Plenty of major companies are eyeing this project. Some of their tenders are higher than yours, but we're old friends, and I trust working with old friends, especially Mr. Sanders here. He's quite a talent. He's professional and highly capable. It isn't easy to find a subordinate like him." His high praise did not make me full of myself. It was an acknowledgement of my work capabilities. Tina was clearly relieved, and she started to quickly return compliments to Kent. When Kent was about to sign the contract, a loud bang was heard as the meeting room door was flung open. Kent's secretary was trying to stop Eugene, who had barged in furiously. The secretary was apologetic as she tried to explain, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Charleston. This gentleman claims to be Miss Caden's boyfriend, and is insistent on supervising the meeting." I couldn't stop him. Before she could finish, Eugene pushed the secretary to the side and came running toward me. He raised his hand and slapped me. Slap. The crisp sound echoed loudly in the silent meeting room. Everyone was shocked. I put my hand to my burning cheek and looked coldly at Eugene, whose face was covered in tears, and his eyes were swollen like walnuts. He had been crying all the way here. However, he acted like he had suffered a great grievance, as if the person who was slapped was him. Tina quickly went over to him. She sounded anxious. "What are you doing here, Eugene?" Before Eugene replied, he looked at everyone around judgmentally, and turned to look at Kent, who was in the middle of the meeting room. The screen was still displaying our PowerPoint presentation, and the table was covered with documents. Everything pointed to this meeting being a normal business meeting. Eugene realized the trouble he had caused, and he immediately launched into gentle mode. He held Tina's hand with a pitiful look on his face. I send you messages, but you didn't reply them right away. I came over here because I was worried something had happened to you. He looked at me timidly while speaking and insinuated, Mr. Sanders deleted me from his contacts and didn't reply to my messages. He wasn't even particularly nice to me. The more he spoke, the more pitiful he sounded. Eugene's eyes turned red as he repeated the words, I'm sorry, and it wasn't on purpose. I tried my best to suppress my anger. Before I could say anything, Tina suddenly grabbed me by the arm and insisted, You apologized to Eugene. I was stunned. I could not believe my ears. Miss Caden, I was the one who was slapped for no good reason. So what? Tina frowned. It was ridiculous how indignant she was acting. You knew how sensitive and insecure Eugene can be. Why didn't you reply him in time? This is a reflection of your failure to do your job. I didn't instruct you to delete him from your contacts. Why would you delete him? If Kent was not present, I would have flung the documents in my hand onto both their faces. I tried my best to suppress my anger, and immediately displayed my phone's screen on the big screen. The screen was filled with hundreds of messages from Eugene with ridiculous orders. From checking my location to instructing how I should dress. They also contained requests from him for me to remind Tina to say loving words to him. Eugene turned silent, and he tried to look away. Tina was also stunned by the screen filled with messages. Tell me, Miss Caden. My voice was cold, but it filled the room clearly. Do you mean to tell me that I should turn my back on millions worth in contract just to cheer up your boyfriend? I paused and followed up with another question. Are you his girlfriend, or am I his girlfriend? Tina's face flushed red, and she started to change the topic. Watch your tone with me, Andrew. How dare you speak to me that way? Do you still want your job? She started to spout nonsense indignantly. The contract might be important, but Eugene is even more important to me. You're a senior member of this company and my right-hand man. Isn't it your job to take care of the company and my personal life? I had no idea what to say. It was pointless to argue with those who were unreasonable. When Eugene saw that Tina's attention was not focused on him, he started to create more drama. He pulled on Tina's hand and said in a sobbing voice, Stop it, Tina. I know Mr. Sanders doesn't like me. He might have been interested in you for a long time and became jealous that we're together, which is why he's been mean to me. He started heading out the door as he spoke in an incredibly sad manner. I'll leave. I know no one cares about what I think if I continue staying here. Eugene cried and ran out of the meeting room after that. Tina did not even look at me, nor did she bother about Kent, who was still present, and ran out after him. The meeting room was left with only me, Kent, and his secretary. Kent looked particularly irritated. He laughed coldly and said sarcastically, I had no idea Miss Caden thinks her boyfriend is more important than $1 million contract. Is this the sincerity your company is showing me? His attitude had turned cold, and he was no longer showing any friendliness. We need to reevaluate your company's ability. That's all for today. You should leave. A wave of helplessness came over me. I was the only one who understood the feeling, as I had spent multiple sleepless nights modifying the proposal in order to push for this to happen. I ran through the details many times and even sent plenty of gifts customized for Kent in order to build a more personal connection between us. All of my hard work had been destroyed because of a boss who was busy being in love and her boyfriend, who was a complete control freak. A cold look appeared in my eyes. If Tina did not know how to act appropriately, there was no blaming me next. As Kent was about to leave, I quickly called out, Please wait, Mr. Charleston. He turned to look at me questioningly as I took a deep breath to take out another set of documents from my bag. I handed it to him. Please take a look at this contract, Mr. Charleston. You can decide later if you want to continue working together. Kent Charleston took the folder, his bushy gray eyebrows knitting together as he scanned the first page. The room was silent, save for the hum of the projector fan, displaying the ghost of a presentation that no longer mattered. This isn't a contract modification, Kent said slowly, looking up at me. A glint of genuine interest replaced his earlier annoyance. This is a business registration. Sanders and Associates. It's a contingency plan, Mr. Charleston, I said, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I registered it 3 months ago when Mr. Larson first started interfering with operations. I knew a day would come when my professional integrity would be compromised by my employer's personal life. I pointed to the second document in the stack. And that is a proposal for the exact same project, executed by me and a dedicated team I have on standby. Same terms, same efficiency, but with one key difference. Zero drama. No boyfriends, no tantrums, just results. Kent leaned back, tapping a gold pen against his chin. He looked at the open door where Tina had vanished, then back at the red handprint fading on my cheek. You're asking me to jump ship from an established firm to a startup that technically doesn't have an office yet, Kent noted, though his tone wasn't accusatory. I'm asking you to bet on the jockey, not the horse, I replied. You said it yourself earlier. You trust my talent. Tina Caden provided the capital, but I provided the architecture for this deal. If you sign with Tina today, You aren't getting me. You're getting Eugene Larson. Kent let out a bark of dry laughter. He closed the folder and placed his hand over it. I've been in this industry for 30 years, Andrew. I've seen empires crumble because a CEO couldn't keep their bedroom out of the boardroom. I don't work with children. He stood up and offered me his hand. Draft the official agreement. I want it on my desk by Monday morning. Sanders and Associates has its first client. I shook his hand. Thank you, Mr. Charleston. You won't regret this. As Kent left, I didn't feel triumph. I felt a cold, clinical resolution. I packed my laptop, unplugged the projector, and walked back to my office. I drafted a resignation letter, printed it, and placed it on Tina's desk. Then, I packed my personal belongings into a single cardboard box. It didn't take long. I had already mentally moved out weeks ago. I was just walking toward the elevators when the elevator doors pinged open. Tina and Eugene stepped out. Eugene's eyes were still red, but he looked smug, clinging to Tina's arm like a limpet. Tina looked exhausted but determined. When she saw me with the box, she froze. Eugene, however, lit up. Finally. Eugene sneered. Going to beg for forgiveness? Or did you finally realize you're not wanted here? Tina frowned, stepping forward. Andrew, put the box down. Stop being dramatic. I know you're upset about the slap, and I'm willing to give you a bonus to smooth things over. But you need to apologize to Eugene for embarrassing him in front of the client. It's about mutual respect. I looked at her, really looked at her, for the last time. She was a woman I had once admired, a woman I had helped build this company with from the ground up. Now, she was just a vessel for Eugene's insecurity. I'm not being dramatic, Tina. I'm being unemployed, I said calmly. My resignation letter is on your desk. Tina rolled her eyes. Oh, stop it. You're not quitting. You've been here for 5 years. Where would you go? Who would hire you after you walked out on a meeting? Actually, I said, adjusting the box in my arms, Mr. Charleston and I had a very productive conversation after you left. He's no longer your client. He's mine. The color drained from Tina's face. What? You can't do that. Eugene shrieked, stepping between us. That's illegal. That's stealing. Tina, call the police. It's not stealing if the client walks away voluntarily because the CEO abandoned $1 million negotiation to chase a boyfriend who was crying about a text message, I said, stepping around Eugene. Tina grabbed my arm. Her grip was desperate. Andrew, you can't be serious. That contract is vital for Q3. We have overheads. We have. You have Eugene, I interrupted, gently removing her hand from my arm. You said he was more important than the contract. I'm just respecting your priorities. Andrew, she yelled as the elevator doors opened. If you walk out, don't think you can ever come back. I will sue you. I will destroy you in this industry. I pressed the button for the ground floor. As the door slid shut, I saw Eugene whispering frantically in her ear, likely spinning a new web of lies about how this was all my master plan to hurt her. Goodbye, Tina, I said. The doors closed, severing the connection. 2 months passed. Sanders and Associates was operating out of a modest co-working space, but the atmosphere was electric. Kent Charleston's project was moving ahead of schedule, and his recommendation had opened doors to 3 other mid-sized clients. I wasn't surprised when I started getting calls from my former colleagues. It's a madhouse, Andrew, Sarah, the head of HR, whispered over the phone. Eugene has appointed himself the chief operations officer. He doesn't even know how to read a balance sheet. He fired the entire marketing team because a female intern didn't look him in the eye, which he claimed was disrespectful, but then fired the receptionist because she did look him in the eye, which he claimed was seducing him. Why hasn't the board stepped in? I asked, typing away at a new proposal. Tina owns 60% of the shares. She's insulated. She backs him on everything. She says he's cleaning house and getting rid of your spies. Andrew, are you hiring? By the end of the month, I had poached Sarah and 2 of the best project leads. I didn't even have to convince them. They were fleeing a burning building. Meanwhile, Eugene's social media, which I no longer followed but heard about through the grapevine, was a showcase of nouveau riche tackiness. He posted photos of a new sports car, a luxury watch, and vacations, all captioned with things like #bosslife and #king of the empire. They were burning through capital. I knew the margins of Tina's company better than she did. Without the Charleston contract, they were relying on reserves. With Eugene spending, those reserves would last 6 months tops. I kept my head down and focused on the work. Revenge is a dish best served cold, but success is a meal best eaten in peace. I didn't see Tina until the annual industry gala in December. I arrived in a tailored tuxedo, feeling comfortable in my own skin. My company had just crossed the profitability threshold, and we were the buzz of the event. When Tina entered, the room didn't go silent, but the whispers started. She looked thin, gaunt. Her dress was expensive, but her hair was slightly frizzy, and her eyes darted around the room nervously. Eugene was by her side, wearing a velvet suit that looked like a costume. He was gripping a glass of champagne, scanning the room with that same paranoid glint in his eyes. They cornered me near the bar. Andrew, Tina said. Her voice lacked its usual authority. It sounded brittle. Tina, I nodded. Eugene. Interesting suit. Cut the crap, Eugene spat. We know what you're doing. You're spreading rumors about us. You told the vendors we're insolvent. I haven't spoken about you to anyone, I said honestly. Your credit rating speaks for itself. Vendors talk to each other, Eugene. When checks bounce, word travels. The checks didn't bounce. Tina snapped, though her eyes betrayed her panic. It was a banking error. We're doing fine. Better than fine. In fact, we're restructuring. Is that what you call it? I asked. I heard you lost the Henderson account last week. That was the last of your legacy clients. Tina flinched. We parted ways. Creative differences. He fired you because Eugene tried to tell Mr. Henderson how to run his logistics. I corrected. Sarah told me. Sarah is a traitor, Eugene shouted, drawing looks from nearby tables. And you're a thief. You stole our clients, you stole our staff. I offered them a lifeboat, I said, my voice dropping an octave. You punched holes in the ship, Eugene. Don't blame the ocean for drowning you. Tina looked at me, her eyes welling up. For a second, the old Tina flickered through, the smart, capable woman I used to know. Andrew, is it true? Are we really? Is the reputation that bad? Tina, look at who is standing next to you, I said softly. He has isolated you from your staff, your clients, and your reality. You are losing everything. Don't listen to him, babe. Eugene grabbed her face, forcing her to look at him. He's trying to manipulate you. He's jealous of our love. We're a power couple. We're going to crush him. Tina looked at Eugene, then back at me. I saw the doubt. But the sunk cost fallacy is a powerful drug. She had destroyed her life for this man. Admitting he was a mistake now would be admitting she was a fool. She stiffened. You're right, Eugene. He's just bitter. She turned a cold shoulder to me. We'll see who's standing at the end of the fiscal year, Andrew. I guess we will, I said, sipping my drink. The end didn't come at the end of the fiscal year. It came 3 weeks later. I was in my office when the police called me. Not regarding me, but asking for a statement regarding a former employee. Eugene Larson had been arrested. It turned out that reminding Tina to say I love you wasn't Eugene's only hobby. He had been funneling company funds into a crypto account under his cousin's name. It wasn't sophisticated embezzlement. It was clumsy, arrogant theft. He thought he was untouchable because he was the boss's boyfriend. He had drained the operating accounts. Payroll had bounced for the second time. The employees who hadn't left yet finally walked out. But the kicker? He had used Tina's personal identity to take out loans to cover the tracks. I drove to the police station, not to bail him out, but because Tina had listed me as an emergency contact years ago and never changed it. I found Tina sitting on a plastic bench in the waiting area. She wasn't crying. She was staring at the linoleum floor, shell-shocked. He said he was investing it, she whispered when she saw me. He said he was doubling our money so we could buy a yacht. I sat down next to her, leaving a foot of space between us. How much is gone? Everything, she said. The company accounts. My savings. He even mortgaged my apartment without me knowing. I signed papers. I didn't read them. I trusted him. She looked up at me, her face ravaged by betrayal. He blamed me, Andrew. When they handcuffed him, he screamed that I didn't give him enough allowance, that I emasculated him by making more money, that he had to steal to feel like a man. He's a narcissist, Tina. Nothing is ever his fault. I ruined it, she choked out, finally breaking down. I ruined the company. I ruined my reputation. I treated you like garbage. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it away. I can't fix this for you, Tina, I said gently. I'm not your manager anymore. I know, she sobbed. I have no one. Everyone hates me. You need a lawyer, I said, standing up. A forensic accountant. And a therapist. In that order. I wrote down the name of a good corporate litigator on the back of my business card and handed it to her. Andrew, she called out as I turned to leave. If I get through this. If I start over. Would you? She couldn't finish the sentence. She knew the answer. Sanders and Associates is fully staffed, I said. Goodbye, Tina. The trial was the talk of the business world. Eugene Larson tried to plead insanity, then coercion, blaming Tina for forcing him to live a lifestyle he couldn't afford. The jury didn't buy it. The text messages, the thousands of controlling, manic texts he had sent me and others, were read aloud in court. They painted a picture of a man desperate for control, not a victim. He was sentenced to 8 years for fraud and embezzlement. Tina Caden declared bankruptcy. Her company, once a market leader, was liquidated. The office furniture, the computers, the brand, everything was sold off to pay creditors. I went to the auction. I bought the intellectual property rights and the client database for pennies on the dollar. It wasn't malice. It was business. Chapter 11. Full circle. 1 year later, I sat in the corner office of the newly expanded Sanders and Associates. The view was spectacular. My secretary buzzed in. "Mr. Sanders, your 2 p.m. is here. A Mrs. Larson?" I frowned. "Larson?" "Sorry," she said, "Miss Caden. She seems confused." "Send her in." Tina walked in. She looked different. She was wearing a simple off-the-rack suit. No jewelry. Her hair was tied back practically. She looked older, but clearer. She stood in front of the desk that used to be hers in a way. "I'm not here to ask for a job," she said quickly. "Okay," I leaned back. "Why are you here?" "I'm leaving the city," she said. "I'm moving back to my hometown. My parents. They're going to help me get back on my feet. I'm going to work at my father's hardware store." She took a deep breath. "I wanted to look you in the eye and say I'm sorry. Not because I want something, but because you were the best friend I had, and I let a monster turn me against you." "I accept your apology," I said. She nodded, a small, sad smile playing on her lips. "You won, Andrew. You deserve to win." "It wasn't a game, Tina," I replied. "It was a job. I just did it." She turned to leave, pausing at the door. "He writes to me, you know. From prison. Asking for money for the commissary. He says the other prisoners are mean to him. And I sent him a text message," she said, her voice hardening. "I told him to remind himself every 30 minutes that nobody loves him." She walked out. I smiled, turned back to my computer, and got back to work. There was a meeting with Kent Charleston in 10 minutes, and I never liked to be late.